My ex-mother-in-law is helping me hide my child from my ex. 4 years ago I dated who I thought was the love of my life. We broke up after a nasty fight my sophomore year of college that was fueled from our frustrations of being long distance. His mother detested me because her husband had died a few years back and he was her only son, and she thought I wasn't good enough. She always made this very clear, and one of the issues my ex and I had was him not noticing or defending me. A couple of years ago, my ex came to our hometown and all my old friends met up. We were mutually surprised to see each other, and it was very clearly an odd and tense situation. Everyone got drunk, ex started talking to me, then we were laughing, then we started making out and we did the deed in our friend's guest room. Super drunk, no rubber, and he lasted literally 40-odd seconds. I barely remembered when I woke up and just dipped out of there. A month later I realized I still loved him, and I also realized I'm late on my period. I took a test and it was positive. I knew we wouldn't work out as a couple, no matter how much I still loved him. I wanted the best for him. I wanted him to find a girl to be happy with and finish school and be successful, and not have to move back home to be with his kid. I loved him so much I just wanted the best. Couldn't bring myself to get a termination. So after 3 months when it really hit me that I probably wasn't going to lose it, I did what I thought was the best thing to do. I went to his mom. His mom was very wary when opening the door. Faked a smile, all that, tried to politely ask what I was doing there. I told her I was pregnant with her son's kid, and that we wanted the same thing for him. I told her I wouldn't get a termination, but ex didn't have to know. She was really quiet, asked why I was willing to do this. I said I couldn't tell him because I didn't want to get back in a relationship knowing he wasn't happy with his life, and I didn't want to F it up. So I told her I wanted to move away to Detroit, where some of my extended family was, and cut everyone except immediate family from back home off. That I wanted to basically drop off the grid, delete everything, disappear and raise my kid. So we made a deal. She would pay child support and rent and I would continue to go to school. I remember the last thing she told me was, "Thank you for doing what's best for my son. I never knew you loved him this much." Really messes to think about now. I went home and cried, then eventually broke the news to my parents and my plan. They were absolutely against it, so I promised to stay long enough for the birth, but I had to leave after. I think part of the reason my dad allowed it was because I would be living off campus and they wouldn't have to pay rent, and it would be a lot less money for them. My mom only allowed because she visited her family in Detroit often and she always thought my ex didn't treat me right. Flash forward and I have left school, I'm at home, social media accounts deleted, number changed. My mom keeps getting calls from my friends and tells them I have decided to start life over and I couldn't ever answer the door because sometimes my friends would try to see me. My parents always said I wasn't at home or had moved away. After the birth of my daughter I stayed for a month then moved to Detroit. Started working part-time, took classes online, and raised my kid alone. It sucked but I made friends who didn't know me before and life was okay. That leads to yesterday. At around 3 p.m. I got a knock on my door, and saw 6 of my old friends including my ex. I was supposed to have company over so I had actual clothes on and the apartment clean, thank God. I tried shutting the door but boy one stopped it and they forced themselves in. Said girl one had been going to my parents' mailbox for weeks to try and find where I was. They found a letter I had sent my parents with pictures I had developed of my daughter, and they came. They thought I was part of a cult. Boy 2 mentions a rumor that I had a kid. Standing there and seeing my old best friends and the shock and knowing I was F just ended me and I started tearing up. Cue my daughter waddling into view behind me. I wouldn't tell them who the father was, but my ex had the strangest look like he knew. They all sat down and I brought them beers and then played with my daughter. They all seem so young now, or maybe I feel old. My daughter went up to my ex at one point, and held her hands up to be held. She hugged his neck tightly and wouldn't let go, then sat down facing him and fell asleep against his chest. My ex looked at me and I had to turn around. I thought I would lose it. Later we all caught up. Ex became exactly what he wanted, so maybe this was worth it. I explained I had wanted a new life for me and her, and I missed them all so much. It was late so I had ex carry her to her crib to sleep. While it was him and I in there he finally asked if she was his. I burst into tears and he knew. He was so angry, and I tried my best to explain but obviously it wasn't enough. I told him I thought it was best for him, and his mom agreed, and he started crying. I think from his yells the others knew too. They all slept over and are still here. My ex wants to work something out. I still love him but I won't get back with him just so he can see his daughter. I told him he can visit whenever he wants, but he wants me to move to his school's area. I don't know what to do.